Have you ever found yourself standing at a crossroads, staring down two paths, but frozen by a third, invisible one? It's not a path you can walk, but a rabbit hole you can fall into, and it begins with two of the most destructive words in the English language. What if? Not the hopeful, daydreaming kind of what if. I'm talking about the other kind, the corrosive, anxious kind. The what if I fail? The what if they laugh at me? The what if I'm not good enough? The what if I make the wrong choice and ruin everything? This question doesn't open doors. It builds walls. It's an architect of anxiety, constructing intricate, high-definition blueprints of disaster in the cinema of our minds. We see the whole tragic film play out in perfect clarity. The presentation that bombs, the business that folds, the awkward silence on a first date. We feel the flush of embarrassment, the sting of rejection, the cold weight of regret, all before we've even taken a single step. Why are we so good at this? Why do our imaginations, capable of conjuring up symphonies and moon landings, default to being such masterful horror directors for our own lives? It's a ghost of an evolutionary impulse, a self-preservation instinct that's gone haywire in the modern world. We're no longer scanning the savannah for lions, but we are scanning our emails for subtle signs of disapproval, our social media for evidence of being left out, our futures for every possible pothole. This constant, low-grade threat detection keeps us playing small, living in the narrow, well-lit hallway of what's safe and predictable, while the grand ballroom of what's possible remains just beyond a door we're too afraid to even touch. For years, this very question haunted a woman you might assume would be immune to it. Her name is Alex Carter, and as a clinical professor of law at Columbia and a high-stakes negotiation trainer for the United Nations, her entire career is built on navigating conflict and uncertainty. But she discovered that the most difficult negotiation she ever had to face wasn't across a boardroom table. It was the one happening between her own two ears. This isn't just a story about a negotiation tactic. It's the story of her obsessive quest to dismantle that fear, to answer that universal what if, and to find out what happens when we train our minds not just to face the future, but to build it boldly. To the outside world, Alex Carter's life was the very picture of confidence and control. Imagine her, standing before a room of seasoned diplomats, people whose words could shift global policy, and teaching them how to ask for more, or mediating a tense corporate merger where billions of dollars and thousands of jobs hang in the balance. She was the one you call when the stakes were astronomical, the person expected to be the calm center of the storm. Her students at Columbia Law School, some of the brightest young minds in the country, looked at her as a model of poise and strategic thinking. They saw the polished exterior, the sharp intellect, the effortless authority. They saw the finished product. What they didn't see, what no one saw, was the exhausting internal battle that preceded every single one of those moments. Before every major lecture, every critical negotiation, the same internal monologue would begin its insidious whisper campaign. The voice of doubt didn't just suggest failure. It detailed it with the precision of a legal brief. It would present, as Exhibit A, every tiny mistake she had ever made. Exhibit B would be a comprehensive list of all the ways her well-prepared strategy could spectacularly implode. It would cross-examine her qualifications, her readiness, her very right to be in that room. For her, the what-if wasn't just a fleeting thought. It was a hostile witness in the courtroom of her own mind, and it was relentless. The crisis point, the moment this chronic condition became an acute emergency, didn't happen in a single dramatic explosion. It was a slow burn that reached its flashpoint during a particularly grueling mediation. The negotiation had stretched for days. Two companies, locked in a bitter dispute, were on the verge of a catastrophic legal war. Alex was there to find a path to peace, but the air was thick with mistrust and animosity. Progress was measured in millimeters. Exhausted, running on stale coffee and adrenaline, she sat in her hotel room late one night, preparing for the next day, and the voice started. It told her she was out of her depth, that the other side was playing her, that her proposed solution was naive and would be shredded in the morning, that the collapse of these talks and the subsequent damage to both companies would be her fault. The vision of failure was so vivid, so complete, that she felt a physical wave of nausea. She paced the room, her heart pounding, completely consumed by a future that hadn't happened. And in that moment of profound frustration, a new thought cut through the noise, a thought born not of strategy, but of sheer desperation. Who is actually creating this problem right now? It wasn't the CEO of Company A. It wasn't the legal team from Company B. The most powerful, persuasive, and destructive person in this entire negotiation was her. Her own imagination was her single greatest adversary. It was using all of its incredible power to build a case for her own defeat. She suddenly saw that this wasn't just her private struggle. It was the same invisible force that made her brilliant law students hesitate to negotiate their first salary, the same fear that stopped talented entrepreneurs from seeking funding, the same dread that kept people in jobs they hated and relationships that had long expired. The problem wasn't a lack of talent or intelligence or ambition. It was a crisis of the imagination. And she decided, right there in that sterile hotel room, that she would make it her life's work to solve it. Her investigation began not with a grand theory, but with a simple, almost childish act of rebellion against her own mind. The next morning, walking back into that tense negotiation room, she decided to try an experiment. The voice of doubt was still there, whispering its litany of potential disasters. But instead of fighting it, she decided to hijack the very mechanism it was using against her. The mechanism was the what-if question. So she flipped it deliberately, consciously. She stopped herself and asked a new question. What if this goes spectacularly, unbelievably well? She didn't just ask it. She demanded a detailed answer from her own imagination. What would that look like? Not just a signed agreement, but something more. She began to paint a picture in her mind, a parallel reality she would later come to call the mirror universe. In this mirror universe, the two CEOs weren't just shaking hands. They were smiling, genuinely relieved. They were talking about a future partnership, a collaboration they hadn't even considered before. The lawyers were clapping each other on the back. The air in the room wasn't just free of tension. It was filled with energy and optimism. She didn't just see it. She tried to feel it. She imagined the satisfying weight of the signed document in her hands, the specific taste of the celebratory coffee, the sound of laughter echoing in the hallway. She spent a full minute living in this invented reality, a reality that was just as detailed and just as emotionally resonant as the nightmare scenarios her anxiety had been screening for her on a loop. Something profound happened. The physical symptoms of her anxiety, the tight chest, the shallow breathing, began to recede. The mental fog of dread began to lift, replaced by a glimmer of clarity and purpose. By creating a compelling, positive future, she had given her brain a new destination to navigate toward. It was no longer just avoiding landmines. It had a treasure map. When she walked into the room, she was no longer just a mediator trying to prevent a disaster. She was an architect trying to build the beautiful outcome she had just so vividly imagined. Her language changed. Her posture changed. She started asking different questions, not just about resolving the current conflict, but about creating new, shared value. She started talking as if that better future were not just possible, but probable. This wasn't about naive positive thinking. It was a neurological recalibration. Our brains are wired to close the gap between where we are and where we want to go. By giving it a powerful, emotionally charged vision of where we want to go, she was activating the problem-solving, creative parts of her mind, instead of just the fear-driven, reactive parts. She began teaching this concept to her students. One student, terrified of a high-stakes job interview, was coached to build her own mirror universe. She didn't just visualize getting the job offer. She visualized herself 6 months into the role, successfully leading a team meeting, her boss congratulating her on a project, feeling a deep sense of competence and belonging. She walked into that interview not as a supplicant begging for a chance, but as a future colleague, already embodying the confidence of the person she was about to become. The feedback was transformative. People were using it to pitch bold ideas, to have difficult conversations, to start artistic projects. The first great principle was clear. You cannot defeat a negative imagination by arguing with it. You must overwhelm it with more powerful, more compelling, more detailed vision of success. You must build a mirror universe so bright and so real that it becomes a new North Star, pulling you forward to the darkness of your own doubt. For a time, This felt like the complete answer. The mirror universe was a powerful tool, a way to reorient the mind from fear to possibility. Alex Carter saw it work wonders for herself and for the people she taught. But soon, a new and subtle problem began to emerge. For some, the mirror universe, in all its high-definition glory, was actually paralyzing. The vision of success was so grand, so perfect, so far from their current reality, that it only served to highlight the immense, seemingly uncrossable chasm between here and there. A student who dreamed of writing a novel would imagine their book on a bestseller list, but the thought of the 300 blank pages they had to fill to get there was so crushing that they never even opened the document. An aspiring entrepreneur would visualize their thriving company with a team of 50 employees, but the sheer complexity of business plans, legal incorporation, and fundraising made the first step feel like trying to leap to the moon. The beautiful vision, meant to inspire, was instead intimidating. It was like showing someone a picture of the summit of Mount Everest and then telling them to just start climbing. The sheer scale of the journey was enough to make them give up before they even laced up their boots. The mirror universe provided the why, but it didn't provide a manageable how. Carter realized that her first breakthrough wasn't the whole story. A destination, no matter how wonderful, is useless if you don't have a way to begin the journey. This led to her second, and perhaps more profound, discovery. The problem, she deduced, was that people were trying to build a bridge all the way to their mirror universe in one go. What they needed wasn't a bridge. It was a single, small, non-threatening stepping stone. She called this concept the open door. The goal is not to figure out the entire path. The goal is to find the very next, smallest, most immediate action you can take that moves you, even just 1 inch, in the direction of your vision. This action has to be so small that it's almost impossible to fail at, so simple that it doesn't trigger your brain's fear and procrastination response. It's not about being brave. It's about being clever. It's about sneaking past your own internal security guard. Let's go back to that aspiring novelist. Their mirror universe is a finished book. The open door is not write chapter 1. It's open a new document and give it a title. Or even smaller, write one single sentence that you like. That's it. For the entrepreneur, the open door isn't secure venture capital. It's spend 10 minutes brainstorming company names. Or buy the domain name for your favorite idea. Or send one email to a mentor asking for a 15-minute chat. Each of these actions is an experiment, not a commitment. It's a tiny quest for information. Buying a domain name doesn't mean you've launched a company. It means you spent $12 to make your idea feel a little more real. Writing one sentence doesn't mean you committed to a novel. It just means you've proven to yourself that you can, in fact, write a sentence. This principle fundamentally reframes action. It transforms it from a high-stakes performance into a low-stakes exploration. Every open door you walk through reveals a new hallway with new doors. The 10-minute brainstorming session reveals a name you love. The next open door is to sketch a logo on a napkin. That sketch gives you an idea for a color scheme. The next open door is to use a free online tool to make a digital version. Suddenly, you have momentum. You are not starting a business. You're simply opening one easy door after another. And in doing so, you are slowly but surely building the foundation of your mirror universe without ever having to make a single, terrifying leap. This was the missing piece. The mirror universe provided the direction, but the open door provided the movement. It was a 1-2 punch against paralysis. The realization, when it finally coalesced, was like the final click of a combination lock. Alex Carter saw that these two ideas, the mirror universe and the open door, were not just two separate techniques in a toolkit. They were two halves of a single, elegant, and powerful system. One could not function effectively without the other. They formed a dynamic, self-reinforcing loop, a perpetual motion machine for generating courage and clarity. This was the grand synthesis, the unifying theory she had been searching for. Boldness, she realized, is not a character trait you are born with. It is not a sudden surge of bravery in a moment of crisis. Boldness is a navigational skill. It is the practice of skillfully and continuously toggling your focus between the vast, inspiring expanse of the future and the tiny, tangible reality of the present moment. Think of it like this. The mirror universe is your destination plugged into a GPS. It's the high-resolution image of your desired outcome, the North Star that gives your journey meaning and direction. It's what you zoom out to see when you feel lost, to remind yourself why you started walking in the first place. It provides a pull, the motivation, the emotional fuel. The open door, on the other hand, is the immediate turn-by-turn instruction from that same GPS. It's the in 200 feet, turn left. You don't need to see the entire 500-mile journey laid out in front of you. In fact, seeing that would be overwhelming. All you need to do is trust the destination you've programmed and execute the very next simple maneuver. That maneuver is a small, de-risked action that moves you forward. Without the mirror universe, the open doors are just a series of random, disconnected actions. You might be busy, opening doors and walking through hallways, but you're going in circles because you have no ultimate destination. Your actions lack purpose. Conversely, without the open door, the mirror universe is just a frustrating daydream. It's a beautiful poster on your wall of a place you'll never visit because you don't know how to even get to the airport. The vision becomes a source of anxiety rather than inspiration. The true magic happens in the interplay between them. You gaze at your mirror universe to fill yourself with purpose. Then you zoom all the way in and ask, what is the single easiest open door right in front of me? You take that tiny step. As soon as you do, you gain a new perspective, new information. So you zoom out again briefly to check your mirror universe. Is the destination still the same? Does this new information change it? Yes? No? Okay. Then you zoom back and what's the next open door from this new vantage point? This constant toggling, this mental dance between the macro and the micro, is the engine of bold action. It systematically dismantles fear. The vision is too inspiring to let you quit, and the next step is too small to scare you. You are constantly building momentum, creating a track record of small successes that slowly but surely rewires your brain to believe that the grand vision is not just a fantasy, but an inevitability. This was the ultimate aha moment. We don't have to wait to feel brave. We can build a system that generates bravery as a byproduct. We can architect a process that makes bold action the most logical and least frightening choice available. So what does this journey, this incredible story of discovery, mean for you right now, sitting here with your own invisible walls and your own paralyzing what-ifs? It means that the power to change your trajectory doesn't require a personality transplant. It doesn't require a sudden, superhuman act of will. It requires a blueprint, a new way to operate the powerful but unruly imagination you already possess. The system is elegantly simple. First, you must dare to build your mirror universe. Don't just think about your goal. Inhabit it. Take the time to write it down, to visualize it with every sense. What does your greatest success look, sound, smell, and feel like? Who is there with you? What are you wearing? What is the feeling in your chest? Make it so real, so compelling, that it feels more like a memory of the future than a dream. This is your why. This is your fuel. Then, and this is the most critical part, you must completely forget about the vastness of that vision and find the single, smallest, most laughably easy open door you can walk through today. Not tomorrow, not next week. Today. Is it sending a single email? Is it making a 5-minute phone call? Is it writing one paragraph, sketching one design, or just searching for one piece of information online? Identify that one tiny, non-threatening step that moves you a fraction of a percent closer to your mirror universe. And then you do it, and tomorrow you find the next one. This loop, from grand vision to tiny action, back to grand vision, back to tiny action, is the core of thinking boldly. It is a practical, repeatable process for turning fear into fuel and doubt into direction. Understanding this is the first step, but the real transformation comes from practice. It comes from choosing to engage with this process. And that's really what we do here together. This channel isn't just about sharing ideas. It's about building a community of people committed to practicing them. When you subscribe, you're not just clicking a button. You are taking your own small, open doorstep. You are making a commitment to yourself to stop letting the question, what if it all goes wrong, dictate your life, and to start actively building the answer to the question, what if it all goes right? It's time to reclaim your imagination from the clutches of fear and put it back where it belongs, in service of the boldest, most courageous, and most authentic version of your future.